Hello drivers! Today we are showcasing another game than usual, but still in the category of muscle car driving games set in the USA, Heading Out. Thanks to Saber Interactive for giving me a key to test the game early.
There's speed, a blinding glare, a car crash.
As you start the game with a car that reminds me a lot of Driver San Francisco, it has to be said that you will experience a different gameplay from the Driver series, but at the same time, I have the feeling that it could have worked as a spin-off, focusing on different aspects while keeping the car chases at its core. In fact, you are not actually driving all the time, but the game is split between different gameplay styles. The usual driving in 3D, mixed with a bit of 2D strategy in planning your route, and finally a visual novel with comic-style cutscenes.
First, you need to run. Never slow down, never stop for too long.
As a whole, the game is more about taking a road trip across the USA rather than staying in one city and infiltrating a gang to solve a case. But you still get car chases involving the police or thugs, and their frequency depends on the choice you make. And in my case, I try to get as many as I could, of course. That said, don't expect the same collisions physics as in Driver, but since the aim is to avoid traffic and environmental hazard, you will soon get used to the particular handling and you can enjoy weaving through the traffic as the game still offers a challenge rather than being too easy. As you progress through the story, you will unlock more cars with different handlings and look, but I think I will stick with my Dodge Challenger until the end. I also like the UI and especially the foot cam that shows you when you press the accelerator pedal. There is also a manual mode if you want, but I preferred to use the auto gear shifting to focus on the handling. I've already talked about the Driver video game vibe, but I would like to add that the closest it comes to Driver San Francisco is when, at one point in the first act, you come across a Dodge Challenger style car that leaves a trail that looks exactly like the Trailblazer game mode in Driver San Francisco. In fact, I contacted the developers to discuss about these driver references, and they replied that they did indeed play Driver San Francisco before and during the 4-year development of Heading Out. So even though the game is clearly its own things, focusing much more on the story and mood, you can still see that the Driver games had a tiny influence on Heading Out. As you have already noticed, the game has a distinctive look and the developers chose the black and white filter to overcome the technical limitations of the engine and not try to compete with bigger budget and better looking games from a technical point of view. From an artistic point of view, however, it is consistent with the game's story and the main elements are colored, so you know they are important. Speaking of the story, it's meant to be discovered and I've yet to finish the game and understand it all, but without spoiling it, you are literally escaping your fears, materialize as red things that follows you and can't catch you or it is game over. There is also a strong emphasis on music, as the driving gameplay is usually timed to the length of the soundtrack you are listening to on tapes. The game features 19 original tracks to match the road trip experience and philosophical journey. At the end of each of these gameplay sections, you unlock a radio talk that is cryptic and absurd about the story elements, and they remind me of the lunatic Iggy Pop host of the Driver 3 soundtrack CD. The other parts of the game are more about management and strategic decisions, where everything has a cost. You can decide which direction you want to go next on the 2D USA map, and you are not actually driving during this time, but you can accelerate to get there faster and slow down to avoid a police patrol. But you must keep an eye on the money to buy fuel, knowing that accelerating will make the journey more expensive and not let your fear catch you at the same time. Finally, during your journey, you will unlock short cutscenes in which you will meet people that can be weird or just passing by, and usually you have to make a choice that can affect the time you spend on the road, your money, your focus, which is your energy bar, or your crime hit. When you arrive in a new town, you can rest to replenish your focus bar, but this costs time and money. You can accept opportunities to make money, but this may mean that you have to take a detour to your destination by taking the parcel to a town you didn't want to go through. Or you can repair your car if you were not careful during the driving section, but this costs money. So you will lose the crime hit when you cross states. And you also have a reputation bar that can give you more choices depending on whether you are seen as a guardian angel or a nemesis. So there is a lot to take into account, and that's why you might not take the same road as me, depending on your skills during the driving section, or especially the choice you have made along the way, which will change the money you have, the needs to repair or to rest, as well as the direction you can take when fear has blocked some roads. So the story has an interesting mood with some philosophical tropes, and you can personalize the experience by answering questions at the beginning of each act, but you are not obliged to do so. Thankfully, the road trip planning and cutscenes are not timed, so you can really think about your actions and their implications, while the driving is more about quick reactions, although you do have a life system to recover from an accident if necessary. During my playthrough, I came across an event where a film crew was making a chase movie. You can choose to get fame, which increases your reputation, but you will lose time. Or you can race and get rewards depending on whether you win or lose the race. I choose to race, of course, but if you are not too keen on the driving gameplay, you can limit the amount you have to play it. As I said about the story, there is also a high degree of customization in the gameplay styles. I've completed Act 1 and the first walkthrough of the full game should take 8 to 10 hours to complete, but the game does offer some replayability thanks to the choice you make, the road you take to reach your objectives. You can also vary the experience by giving yourself challenges, such as replicating the real-life cannonball challenge or keeping your average speed at the maximum during gameplay. It's a game that interested me as soon as I heard of its existence and saw the similarities to Driver in its setting, and I was pleased to be given a key to review it. The game is currently on sale with a 10% discount for €17.99 or local equivalent. Thanks for watching. If you played the game, please share your thoughts in the comments. Thanks to my Red River producers, driverdimension.com, French Contact, Nerocine, Stenkan on YouTube, Paul Lanois, David Autosport, Mute, Denis Frontier, and Pontiac, who recently joined the Red River Club. Big thanks to all of them, and in any case, see you soon, drivers.